Hello, everybody, and welcome to Thought Splice. It is me, Luis, and this is my wife,
Darlene.
and we just recently watched The Incredibles 2. This movie has been out for, I'll say, like 2 weeks now. I haven't
Not
watched
2 weeks. 2 months.
The Incredibles 2? No, it has been. It
Yes.
came out like at the end of July or something.
I don't know about you, but I watched it like end of June, mid June.
Alright.
What the fuck kind of 2 weeks have you been living?
It's been a long time, okay?
I'm sorry, guys. We
alright.
are not aware of the passage of time.
Alright, anyways, we just saw the movie and we just want to give you guys our thoughts on the movie.
Correction, Lewis just saw the movie.
Yeah.
I saw it ages ago.
She saw it like right when it came out, so she wanted me to watch it, and she was giving me like she really liked it, so we went to watch it again.
How dare you?
What do you mean? You told me you liked it. All right, let's get to it. Let's talk about the movie. First and foremost, let's give an overall about the movie. I think it's a great movie. It's a good sequel. What do you think?
Per the words of Dash Par, it was amazing! I loved it. I'm sorry. I kind of think it was slightly better than the first one.
And that is one of the parts that we actually disagree on. I think it's not better than the first one. I'll give you guys the reasons, but I think we are probably going to get that in the spoiler section because there's a lot of things I kind of want to talk about, but it's very spoilery. But I'm going to tell you right now that, for my opinion, it doesn't live up to the first. It's great, but it doesn't live up to the first. Let's talk about the plot. First and foremost, obviously we're not going to give like key points of the plot. What we saw from the trailer and what we can get from, just basically the basics of the plot is it's a continuation of The Incredibles 1, which is actually like right after how
Yeah.
Incredibles 1 ended with Underminer, correct?
Yes.
And then from there they have to live their life as kind of like criminals because they have to go undercover since superheroes are
Illegal.
right. And then after that, something happens, and they need Elastigirl to become like the face of like basically the superhero, so they can, take out the band against them. And things happen. There'll be a villain and stuff like that. What else? Oh yeah, while that's happening, Mr. Incredible has basically to live with his kids and.
Oh no, father has to be a father. Herder.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's kind of different since obviously it's a super family, and we get one of the best characters in the whole series, I guess, which is Jack Jack, and we get to explore a little bit more.
Jack Jack is fucking amazing.
Yes, Jack Jack is really good because we get to explore his powers, and I don't know, everything that Jack Jack does is just really funny. He's like really the highlight of the movie.
In the first movie, he was kind of just there again because he's a baby. He's just there.
Yeah, he's just there, and at the end, obviously, we find out that he had powers. But now the family actually finds out that Jack Jack has powers, and I like how it basically like dealt with that. And he's still a baby, so obviously he's not gonna be doing crazy things with like superhero kind of things. But most of the things he's doing is based on coincidence because a baby, it's still a baby.
He's just acting off what a baby would usually do, which is basically all he does is either he's hungry, he's tired, or he wants his mama.
Yeah, and I like that. I thought it was pretty good. All right, now let's talk about the pacing on the movie. I thought the pacing was fine. It kind of mellows down here and there, like.
How?
So with Elastigirl, her part is more like the action part. And with Mr. Incredible, he's more of like the family-oriented part. And then here and there, like, I don't know, it'll just slow down here and there. I don't think it's a non-stop action film. It's not. It obviously has a lot of like compassionate and emotion-driven moments where it wants you to think about, the theme, which is family, right? And I mean, it's not a bad pacing issue or anything. I think like with the movie itself and what it wants the message to be, I think it was perfect.
What I really loved when it comes to the pacing was when Elastigirl finally figures out who the real villain was.
Right.
It reveals the real villain, and then real villain goes, "Oh, you're good," and I'm just over there like, "What the heck? It was her all this time," because I'm dense.
Okay.
And then instead of just going on from there, it just cuts full suspense to Mr. Incredible. It's like, come on, we just figured out who the villain was, and then instead it just transitions over to Mr. Incredible acting like we didn't just get the reveal of the movie, and then talking about, oh yeah, Jack this, let me take care of the other kids, and I'm just like, Okay, way to build the suspense even more.
Right. So my wife just said something that was kind of spoilery. So we're just gonna try to skip along. Let's go to the spoilers now, just so you guys can understand a
I
little
don't
better.
reveal who the real enemy was.
I know, but you said something that was particularly spoilery right there. All right, let's go to the spoilers so we can just skip this and we don't get in trouble for anything. Okay, so the villain is a chick, and you see her in trailers. She's the sister of the main superhero. Not what was he like? Kind of like the lawyer, kind of. No,
No,
he
okay. He's a CEO of DevTech, which is basically international company that focuses on communications, pretty much.
yeah, and she's like
She is his designer, and he is the people person. He's more. He does the whole paperwork, the whole selling. Well, she is actually the brains behind all their inventions, all their products.
right, and okay. So here's the problem for me for the movie. It's you can tell who the villain is from almost the beginning.
I did not.
It, well, because the thing is like so the brother and the sister explain why they want to create like this kind of like
They
uprising,
wanted, pretty much, they wanted to make superheroes legal
right?
again.
But the brother explains that the reason why is because of his father's death, and if superheroes were not banned, they his father would have still been alive. But the sister thinks otherwise, right? And that was already like a red flag for me. It was like, oh, okay, they're obviously not on the same like ideas.
They're not on the same page.
yeah, they're not on the same platform. So obviously, it's gonna be one of them. And as soon as they kind of like obviously caught Screensaver, is that the name of the villain?
Screenslaver.
Slaver, yeah, Screenslaver. I was like, okay, it's her because she's obviously the tech developer. So they made it too obvious, and that was like the main thing. Also, her ideology. And here's another thing: since this is a sequel, I can compare it to the first Incredibles. And the first Incredibles, I thought Syndrome, yeah, Syndrome had a good idea of why he wanted to basically get rid of superheroes, and I think this villain did not. I think I couldn't really comprehend that well what her main thing
Oh,
was.
come on. The reason why she wanted superheroes illegal was because she thought people relied way too much on them.
Right, and that was kind of like Syndrome too. He thought that there were too many superheroes, and obviously, if everybody could become a superhero, like what would be the need for them? And I can understand that better than somebody else just saying, "Hey, I'll just get rid of all the superheroes." It's just too simple. That was like one of my main issues. That's the only thing for me. That's why I would consider the first Incredibles better than the second one. But I still had lots of fun for this one. Here's another gripe, and my wife and I don't agree on this either. But there's these side characters that they introduce, which are kind of like the heroes that have been like hiding since the ban, right? And I thought they weren't used that well. They were just used for the villain to control them and just basically for the heroes to have somebody to fight with.
But at the same time, they weren't just accessories on the sidelines. They were just, oh yeah, we'll introduce a character, whatever, and then they disappear, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot they even existed. At the end of the day, their powers were still encompassed. It was still
Like
put into play in the plot. Sure as the villain spawn, but you can still see them using their powers.
right. But like I said, it's just I just felt like there were too much like just side plot for like I said for the need to for the heroes to be fighting against somebody so we can get like a fight scene with them all together or something along the lines of that. So I just didn't like that. It didn't make too much sense for me.
But it was still very mastermindish, though. I mean, for her to not have any superpowers of her own and for her to be able to enslave people with powers, like, it's very sinister, very behind the scenes type villain, like what they were trying to portray with her. I mean, she's all brain, but she's really not. She doesn't have any powers of her own, so.
Correct, and I understand that. But like I said, I just didn't feel like the side characters were really like well balanced. Like I said, like at the end of the day, like I even told you, like the girl that uses the portals, what was her name? Void.
Yes.
Void. She actually has pretty cool power, believe it or not. But
It's pretty cool because, it reminds you of a certain game. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
right. and she was the only character that kind of like stood out from these side characters because she had like more to play after she was brainwashed. She actually helped like Miss Elastigirl, there, Elastigirl, Elastigirl to like take down the villain. And like I said, she kind of like stood out. Also, her personality stood out more too. She was very like
She's like
she was a fangirl.
she's a fangirl and she's very, I don't know, she came off very millennial to me. The colored hair,
Right,
the
right.
anxiety, the shyness, the whole, oh my goodness, like
Yeah,
the way she talked.
that's why she stood out, and I thought that was like one of the good things about her character. But everybody else, like, there was really nothing to them. Like, sure, they'll have like one joke here and there, but they were just there, and that's basically it. Like everything else, like the music was great. Obviously, it's The Incredibles. They obviously used almost the same music from the first one. Some other compositions were probably added there, and the ending of the movie, I thought it was satisfying. There really isn't any other gripes. If I were to score this movie, I'll probably give it like a good 8.5 out of 10. What about you, darling?
I would give it a 9. Another thing I really, really love about the theme of Incredibles is we've seen this we've seen this often, like, was it season 2 of The Flash? Okay, so pretty much it's like 40s, 50s themed clothes, music, society, but then they integrate it with very futuristic stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I get you.
I really love that shit. You know, it's very swanky, very jazzy type music, but then the technology they have is very futuristic. I love that combination. I love that theme so much.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, this is how we're gonna end this. Final note: watch it. Watch it with the kids if you have kids.
Watch it in 4D. I watched it in 4D. It was a life changing experience. Didn't really like it at first, but then after I'm like, holy shit, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah, when I watched it with her, it was just regular, so she kind of wanted us to watch it in 4D.
But it was not offered in 4D.
Either way, it's still a great movie, and I still recommend watching it with your family. I think it's perfect for the whole family.
Please do, especially Jack's fight.
Yes, Jack fight versus the raccoon is probably one of the best scenes in the movie.
It's very iconic. I swear, it will go down in history.
Yes, it will. I'm not obviously we're not gonna spoiler or anything, but it's pretty good. Just watch the movie, and then you guys will see for yourself. Well, thanks everybody for listening. I hope you guys have a great day.
And I hope you watch Incredibles too.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.